Morning, everybody. Camera just dropped there. That was a good one. I caught it. So, how's it going, everybody? It's a beautiful day today, and you may not be watching this live, and so hopefully it's a beautiful day on your day too. The virtue of the day, surrender. We're back to surrender and letting go. And as I do my Wholehearted 100 challenge, I continue to wake up at 5 in the morning and meditate. And a part of that meditation is that I meditate for a half an hour on the virtue of the day. And in that time, this morning, what was needed as I asked myself the question, what needs to be surrendered? As I breathed into my body, as I breathed into my heart, as I breathed in particular into my solar plexus, I asked, what am I open? And what needs to be surrendered? What needs to be let go? And what needed to be let go today was beating myself up and guilt and a little bit of that shame energy that we can all feel sometimes. And so what came further from that is the speech questions that I was reminded of the other day, and also that I try to recall as often as possible. And these questions is for checking my speech, my outer speech and my inner speech. And yesterday I violated some of my principles of outer speech. And those principles are, is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary to say? Is it true? Is it kind? And yesterday I said some things that were true, but not necessary and not kind. And they weren't overtly unkind. They were unkind because they were not necessary. And so I was feeling a little bit of beating myself up about that this morning, and that needed to be let go. Because the next layer, or a profoundly important layer of the speech practice, is to apply those same questions to our inner speech, to what we call our thought words. Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? And so internally, I was having thought words that were not necessary, maybe not even true, but they certainly weren't kind or necessary. So that meets the criteria of letting go. So then I bring myself to the letting go questions that we've talked about. Well, am I willing to let this go? Am I willing to feel this? Am I willing to open to this? Am I willing to recognize that sometimes we beat ourselves up? Sometimes I beat myself up. Sometimes I also say things that are unnecessary, untrue, and unkind. Am I willing to forgive myself? Am I willing to let that go? And as I do, as I breathe through that process and I breathe into my body and I find the tension in my body and I let go, I start to become more open and I start to become more clear. And then I want to take that fertile ground, that clarity, that openness, that spaciousness, that surrendered space. And in that surrendered open space is where I want to plant seeds of necessary, true, and kind speech. And so this is where I want to plant seeds on thoughts of inner speech, my inner thought words that are more appropriate and that are more conducive to the day that I want to have today, the future that I want to have in my life. And so then I start repeating things internally that are more in line with my harmony, with my values, with my virtues. But here's the thing. Another layer of that is something I want to talk about why positive affirmations by themselves don't work. Positive affirmations are really, really important. Saying things internally that you want to have more experience of is really important. but that has to be a coherent message, what is called a coherent message. So we have we've talked about whole brain change. And if I'm saying with one part of my brain, for example, I'm open to the miraculous. I'm open to miraculous things happening in my life that I don't even understand. This is something that I was feeling open to and saying to myself this morning. But if I'm saying that with one part of my brain, those are the thought words, the inner speech. But then this part of my brain is going, bullshit. That's not true. That's never going to happen. Miracles don't happen. That's stupid. You're an idiot. You don't deserve it. You're unworthy. Then I'm incoherent. I'm not sending a message throughout my whole being, and I'm not going to have a powerful result. I'm scattered. I'm diffuse. Like a light bulb that is just diffuse and lights up the room in a kind of mild way, not so intense, versus a laser that is focused and produces a much more powerful result and can cut through anything almost. So we all remember when we were kids taking a magnifying glass and focusing the sun's rays which are diffuse and from our perspective relatively not that intense, at least not so intense as if we were much closer. But when we took a magnifying glass and we focused it, we could create a flame. We could produce a tangible, actual result. This is the same thing with positive affirmations. So when I get myself clear, when I get myself open, then I start to generate inner speech that is more conducive and more in harmony with my values and virtues. But what I need to do is check in and find if there's anywhere. It's okay. In fact, it's almost certain that there's going to be places inside me where I'm calling bullshit, where I don't believe it. Because otherwise, I would probably have that experience more radiantly and more thoroughly throughout my life if I was completely coherent with it. So, when I say to myself, I am much more than enough, finding more and more ways to express thrill, be in flow, and open to the miraculous, which is one of the phrases that I repeat to myself on a regular basis, I then feel in and feel, where does that not feel true? And I don't need to get so intellectual about it. I just need to feel into my body and feel where there's tension. And so I ask myself, I say these things, and then I put my head down, and then I notice, there's a twisting, there's a tightening in my belly. Can I breathe into that? Can I feel that? Can I welcome that? Am I willing to be open to that? Am I willing to let that tension go? And then as I do, I start to get more and more open, more and more in line, more and more into the thriving part of my nervous system, because there's that survival part of the nervous system that loves what is familiar. It loves what is known. It loves the past. It's actually threatened by us changing in major ways, even if we think that change is positive. The survival system is like, I don't know about the future. I don't know if I can survive the future. I know that I've already survived the past. I know that I've already survived your depression and anxiety and fear and PTSD. I know that I've already survived those things. So I'm going to hold on to that familiar story. And I'm going to resist opening to something more miraculous, something more graceful, something more easy, something more in line with what I really, really value and choose. That survival part of the brain is going to resist that. So if we are using positive affirmations or prayer, in a positive prayer, the prayer isn't going to be as effective if we are not in the state of being as the result of the prayer. We're going to be sending an incoherent message. We're going to be sending, what part of me is kind of doing this and part of me is doing this, and there's dissonance there. So the more we can create that harmony internally, and we do that by, again, noticing, calling bullshit when our body and our brainstem calls bullshit on our positive affirmations and says, that's not true. You're not this being of love. You're a grumpy old jerk. Well, then we feel into that, feel that tension, discover where it is in our bodies, breathe into it. Am I willing to let that go? Would I let it go if I could? Would I let it go if I knew it was good for me? Of course I would. When? Now. And now my body is in the thriving system, and it's in harmony with the affirmation or the prayer that I'm saying. And that is going to be a much more powerful result, not only for the future, but in the moment, because I'm actually going to be feeling it. I'm going to be not just saying it, I'm going to be believing it. All right. That's the lesson for the day. Hope you all enjoy. Beautiful, beautiful day. Love you all.